So what do you say at a graduation that has to do with our Masorah? So at first, what came to mind was a siyum. You finish a Masechta Daf Yomi, you finish a Masechta on your own. Just recently, one of our 7th graders finished Seder Moed and Mishnayot. You make a siyum, you finish something. However, if you take notice, the first thing you say when you make a siyum, you say Hadran Allah, return to us. Now we love you guys, but we don't want you back here next year. So the siyum wasn't going to cut it. So I thought to myself, imagine you go and you buy yourself a nice, beautiful 2-door sports car. Interior, bells and whistles. Exterior, bells and whistles. When you purchase, not a lease, you purchase that car and you bring that car home, and you, of course, don't tell your wife, the first thing you're supposed to say is, you would think you would make a shehechianu. But if you went out and bought not a 2-door sports car, but a big, beautiful minivan with all the bells and whistles, trimmings on the inside, as they say, there are many cup holders in a minivan, and all the beautiful exterior that comes with the minivan, you would think a purchase, not a lease. You bring it home, and this time you can tell your wife, and you say, not a shehechianu, but you make a bracha, Hatov v'hametiv. Why? Hatov, a minivan is good. It's a good car. Metiv, because it shares its goodness. You see the sports car, if you can get into it, once you're into it, no one else is getting it. It's for you. It's for you to enjoy. But the minivan, you could do carpool. The minivan, you could do grocery shopping, not just for you, for your neighbor, for an elderly family. It's mative. It has the ability to spread its goodness. And when I think of tonight, I think of 2 words we hear often: excellent and affordability. Excellent, zetov. Affordability, that's mative. It's good for everyone. And these students, as we look at them up here, they're tov. They're all, I'm not going to say good, they're great. They're all tov. Each and every one of them is tov, but they don't keep that tov just to themselves. They're mative. They share that goodness with others. And when we think of the school, the founders of the school, the vision that brought this school into reality, those people were wearing glasses that had tov and mativ. I want a good school. I want an excellent school. But I want a mativ. I want a school that's going to be good for everyone. And that's the excellence and affordability. That is the tov and the mativ. And that is what this school represents. And being at this moment, we realize that's coming to fruition, that blessing, that vision, that dream of being a tov. And Bezrat Hashem, you're all going to head off. And you're going to be mativ. You're going to share that goodness. And my bracha is, you can always look like a sports car, but you should act like a minivan. You should be tov, but you should always be mativ. And with this message in mind, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the founder, Mr. Meir Nordliff, to deliver the great bracha.
Bereshut, Rabbi Greenberg, Menahelet Tiganeh. We have Rav Ronen here. Just a quick shout out to Rav Ronen. He's a modest guy. It's not an area where we like to rank people in, but you ask anybody in the field of Jewish education, he's a top head of school. In fact, he's the number 2 man in his own household in terms of head of schools. I don't think you're supposed to clap. Rav Beit Sefer Rabbi Hoffman, Mashgiach Ruchani Rabbi Lechman, WTA administrators, teachers, parents, grandparents, friends of WTA, and most importantly, our graduates. Murray Diganit wanted a founder to come up here and address our first graduating class. The founding group is a large group, too large to acknowledge everyone, as I wouldn't want to leave anyone out. It's a special group, but I guess my one quibble with the group is that somehow it dramatically dwindled in size once we were looking for a quote-unquote founder to make a speech. But the term I prefer for the original group that started WTA Yeshivat Netzach is initial founders. The reason for that is that as I stand here on this momentous, dare I say glorious occasion, I realize that until you send out your first graduates, until you have sent out your first alumni into the world, as an institution you haven't really progressed beyond that first phase of your existence. It is therefore tonight that the founding era of WTA Yeshivat Netzach officially ends and a new growth chapter begins. All the educators, parents, grandparents, supportive friends, and students who have gotten us to this point, we are all founders. Indeed, look around the room, because everyone, well, it's not a room exactly, but everyone in this ohel, in this tent, is an integral part of the founding era of WTA Yeshivat Netzach. As I stand before you tonight, on behalf of our initial founders, I want to offer hakarat hatov to everyone who contributed to building the foundation necessary for WTA to thrive. I want to acknowledge and thank at the outset our founding head of school, Rabbi Rami Strasberg, who imbued our school with a great spirit and ruach that continues to this day. It is a daunting task to start a new school, and some mazel and divine intervention is needed to succeed. Approximately 3 years into our existence, Hashem sent us a malach. Can you do malach for a female form? But an angel in the form of Mora Diganit. Diganit is a visionary in Jewish education, a powerhouse leader, and has taken our program to a level of excellence that exceeded all of our expectations. When we launched Westchester Torah Academy Yeshivat Netzach 8 years ago, there was a dual threat to our community. The one that gets more of the attention because of the existential nature of the threat to our communal way of life, and the driving force behind the founding of WTA and its sister school in Teaneck, Yeshivat HaAtid, was the simple fact that the average Yeshiva Day School parents, even many who were successful in their fields, could not afford tuition without needing to ask for scholarship. But perhaps a greater challenge was we as a community were not delivering the level of education necessary to reach kids in a technology-centric world, a world overwhelmed with gadgets, and a world where there are multiple competing influences on student attention spans. It is in this area that Mora Digani and the great educators of WTA who are working with Mora Digani, Rabbi Avi, Rabbi Lichman, Mora Nelly, Mora Ingrid, Mora Kim, and I unfortunately can't name everyone individually, but literally every educator here at WTA, you have together succeeded beyond our wildest dream in raising the bar of what should be expected to a yeshiva day school education. And as a parent of 6 children, we really know and appreciate this. And to have accomplished that while at the same time leading a frontal attack on the spiraling cost of Jewish education is astounding. We cannot thank you enough. We read this week of the death of Miriam in what is essentially the handover from the generation who left Mitzrayim to the new generation who will be entering Eretz Yisrael. Like our greatest leaders, Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam, the current graduating class will not be entering Stratton Road into our new state-of-the-art building. Although frankly, seeing this is a nice venue. I don't know, maybe we could have stayed here longer. But like Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam, this class has laid the foundation and selflessly provided the leadership that enabled the rest of the WTA Yeshivat Netzach family to achieve the next level of growth as a community. When I look at some of the great institutions I have been fortunate to go to, Yeshivat Har Etzion, HAL, Yeshiva University, there are always the pictures of that first graduating class, and invariably it's a special group. The reason is that inevitably to succeed as an institution, it needs to get off to a strong start, and that first class sets the tone. It is much harder to reinvent yourself when you get off on the wrong note. We are so fortunate that we have such a special group as our founding class. We have already seen it in high school recruitment, where the attractiveness of our students led to a feeding frenzy akin to Division I athletic programs competing to recruit 5-star athletes. Hopefully without the illegal payoffs. That is a credit to your teachers, your parents, and most of all, you, the student. and we are so proud and fortunate to have you as our first graduating class. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The bracha I would like to deliver from the initial founding group is that as you have been here at WTA, you should continue to be pioneers, leaders, disruptors, and agents for change when change is appropriate. Don't ever let anyone say you can't do something when you believe you could. Just look back at WTA and know you have already accomplished what many said was impossible. She'achiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Today
is a very special day for our class. Welcome, and thank you for coming to share this inaugural and memorable event with us.
I am Jeffrey Jacobs, and I have been a student at Westchester Torah Academy for the past 8 years. Bruchim Habayim.
And I'm Perry Tenney, and I have attended WTA for 5 years, with a little break in the middle.
The best way to get to know our school is by walking around the building and sensing the Avirah. The learning, the relationships, and midot tell the visitor of our story. Together, they display the school's 4 core values.
The first one is Ahavat Torah, the love of Torah. At WTA, we approach learning in general, and Limudei Kodesh in particular, with love and passion.
As Rabbi Rami, the founding head of school, used to say, at Westchester Torah Academy, we begin all events with words of Torah.
It is a great pleasure to introduce our classmate, Matan Marmer, to share Divrei Torah.
In this week's Parsha, Parshat Chukat, Bnei Israel was going through a similar experience to graduation. They had spent the last almost 40 years wandering in the Midbar, and they were living quite amazing, miraculous lives. The cloud of glory was with them always, in the form of cloud by day and fire by night. Food literally rained out of the sky. They never had to make new clothes or shoes. Their garments never wore out. They were just able to learn and grow as individuals, all the time. Sounds a bit like WTA. But the time was coming that they had to graduate. First, Miriam passed away, and when the cloud fails to mourn her death, the well of water that had been miraculously flowing for decades dried up. Later, Aaron, the beloved Kohen Gadol, the peacemaker, is called home by God, and he too passes away. ויראו כל העדה כי גבה אהרון, ויפקוד אהרון 30 יום כל בית ישראל. And in between, trying to obtain and supply water for Klal Israel, Moshe Rabbeinu strikes a rock instead of speaking to it, and because of this, he is informed by God that he will not go into Israel. So for Bnei Israel, they are about to enter Israel, but they will need to do it on their own, without Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Nevertheless, Bnei Israel take with them the values that they learned from Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Hakarat Tov, love of each other, and humility. From the death of Miriam and the subsequent loss of the well of water, we are reminded that one of the main pillars of Jewish life is Hakarat Tov. We are never to forget any kindness that was extended to us. From the death of Aaron, we are reminded about love for one another. And from the death of Moshe, we are reminded about the midah of Adavah, humility. Moshe taught us, and WTA taught us, that no matter how great you are, humility opens up the pathways to more Torah and better relationships with everyone. We will take all of these lessons with us as we move on in our Jewish journeys. Like Bnei Israel, we are about to move on and enter high school, and we too will need to do it on our own. We won't